Alright, hey guys, this is going to be a bit of a different kind of video here, but I just wanted to rant about something that I read about a few days ago, and it's just been boggling my mind. A fellow collector, Jordan Yu, actually posted a great video on this topic over on his channel. I'll link it down below, but I just wanted to throw in my thoughts because I just don't understand it. So what's going on? Well, the situation here is the Department of Energy of the United States has proposed that all ceiling fans sold in the United States, I think by 2028, will have to have a certain minimum airflow efficiency rating defined by these equations. Now, I don't live in the US, I live in Canada, but since we're basically next door neighbors, I'm sure this will eventually affect us as well. So obviously, a push for something that's more energy efficient is a good thing, but only if the net impact on the environment is positive. What they're doing here is basically trying to put out the fire with gasoline, because they're saying that one thing is beneficial, but there's a whole slew of negative consequences in the background. So here they're saying that a more energy efficient motor will, reduce carbon emissions, save energy and all that. And while that's true, there are so many things happening in the background that ultimately won't do any good, or at least not anytime soon, and I wanted to cover these reasons in this rant video. So first of all, let's take a look at this table here. This is part of the huge document that they released about the proposal. I'll put it in the description below if you want to read it. I haven't read the whole thing yet, but just going through, some parts of it already gave me a good idea of what they're trying to do here. So anyways, let's take a look at the contents here. The first technology option here is a larger direct drive motor. And they're talking about a PSC motor, which is already implemented in most of today's ceiling fans. And the description here next to it basically just says, you can use a larger motor for higher efficiency. What? So basically they're saying you can put a bigger motor and it'll make the fan more efficient. Sure, a larger motor may have a better efficiency to size ratio, but a larger motor is still going to consume more power than a smaller motor. It doesn't matter what the ratio is, just it's going to be more power hungry in general. Not only that, then there's going to be more material used to make these motors, right? More steel, more copper to make these bigger motors. It's going to be heavier, it's going to be more expensive to ship because they're bigger. Larger packaging boxes, more styrofoam, aren't those environmentally friendly, right? So let's talk about PSC motors while we're at it. So PSC motors, or permanent split capacitor motors, is a type of motor that's been used in ceiling fans for, I'd say, over half a century at this point. And shaded pole motor ceiling fans, which were mainly antiques, and since the dawn of ceiling fans, that was the main type of motor that was used in ceiling fans. They were gradually phased out over, I'm sure, many years, in favor of PSC motors because they were just more energy efficient. And they've proven themselves to be more energy efficient and pretty much just as reliable. And I say pretty much because, the capacitor could fail, but it's a pretty simple part to repair if needed, for, over 50 years without really having any negative effects. And there's a reason why PSC motors have been used in the ceiling fan for such a long time without any change, because they're already efficient and they're reliable. So there's really no reason to, urgently push for this new technology to save energy and stuff. And actually, a good example of this is the Honeywell HD900. So at least here in Canada, the HD900s are now all PSC motors. So previously they had a shaded pole motor that was pretty much used since the 1990s on the HD800s. But I think in around 2019 or so, Honeywell kind of transitioned into a little tiny PSC motors that they fitted into the HD900s without really compromising on anything else, because the new motors, the PSC motors, are more efficient. They actually draw 0.25 amps compared to 0.6 amps on the shaded pole versions, so that's less than half the current draw, without compromising on performance or cost, because the prices remain the same. They didn't go up at all, yet they were able to provide a better product without really, sacrificing anything else. And that's good, because they did it at their own pace. They weren't forced to make this change. But this proposal, this urgent push to go from an AC induction motor to most likely a brushless DC motor. That's a big change in technology, and they're giving manufacturers only 5 years, a 5-year window to make this change, and this is where the problem comes in. So speaking of brushless DC motors, that's actually the next point here on the table, and they just kind of explain the technology and what it can do. And I love how at the end they say brushless DC motors can be more efficient than induction motors, as if they're not confident or sure about that statement. Next point here. This is the load of baloney here. One of the loads of balonies in this article or document. Blade materials. And right here it says some ceiling fans use a natural material that is somewhat porous, which allows air to pass through the blades without contributing to the airflow. What? I can only think of maybe one instance, which is those palm leaf kind of ceiling fans that use a kind of paper kind of material for the blades, which I think they let the air through on purpose because the motor needs to keep up with those large blades, and by letting some air through it, they're intentionally taking some load off of the motor, and that's by design. But most blades, like MDF or plywood blades, are not porous to air. What the heck? And they say, replacing this natural material, as if MDF is natural, with more common materials, like what? Can increase ceiling fan efficiency. No, it will not. Because porosity is not a problem in most ceiling fan blades nowadays. I would say like 99.9% of blades. What they should be changing here is blade profile or blade shape, because that will change the efficiency and can improve the efficiency of a ceiling fan. Because most ceiling fans traditionally have had just flat wood blades, which, they move the air, but they're maybe not the most optimized design. So if they do some more engineering like they do in aviation and car manufacturing and stuff like that, to modify the profile of the blades to make them more efficient, that would make sense. I don't really see why the material is such a big factor on here. Anyways, moving on to the next point, they just talk about the whole smart sensor technology to detect occupancy, wind, and temperatures in the room, and saying that could potentially improve the power or reduce the power consumption of a ceiling fan, which could be true, but we all know more electronics equals more potential failure points, and we'll talk about this smart nonsense later, but they mentioned that here. Oh, this also really just made me smack my forehead. Distance from the ceiling for Hugger ceiling fans only. So here they talk about how Hugger ceiling fans hang too close to the ceiling, and how increasing the distance between the blades and the ceiling improves airflow and efficiency. Yes, that's true. That's why we have down rod mounted fans. But the whole purpose of Hugger ceiling fans is for them to be mounted in a room that has a low ceiling. You need to have the blades close to the ceiling, or else you're going to hit your hand or your head on the blades. And they're saying only for Hugger ceiling fans do you need to increase the distance between the ceiling and the blades. Basically saying they need to kill off the whole genre of Hugger ceiling fans. So they're just contradicting themselves here, and I don't understand it. This makes no sense. And down below that, they just talk about larger diameter ceiling fans. I'm assuming this is more for like industrial ceiling fans, or those HVL, whatever those those giant ceiling fans that you see in warehouses. Optimization and all that, airfoil blades. So they kind of talk about the shape of the blades here. That's what they should be doing for residential fans too. Beveled blades, curved blades, that's what they should be doing. They talk about some other ceiling fans too. So wow, this table contains some really funny stuff. Alright, so now I'm just going to talk about a bunch of things that I've written in front of me here in the notes in order. So first of all, most fan manufacturers nowadays are already on the DC fan route. They're already making DC fans, and I can think of so many big names like Hunter, Fanimation, Kichler, too many to list really, that have a healthy dose of DC motor fans in their lineup. So I'm sure with time, most manufacturers will head towards the DC fan route. They'll make more DC fans, and eventually we will have a DC dominant ceiling fan market. I'm quite sure. So if we're already hitting that route, why not just let them do it at their own pace? Support them, but not push them, not limit that time to just 5 years. And that's going to put a lot of stress on manufacturers because they're going to have to redesign their entire lineup, their entire catalog of ceiling fans, which could be a few dozen up to a few hundred ceiling fans in order to meet this new regulation. And it's going to be especially stressful for smaller businesses because they may not have the funds to make this huge change. In fact, some articles have said between 10 to 30% of small businesses in the fan market or industry may go out of business. And that's not good because, well, it could be bad for the economy, people are going to lose jobs, but also from a consumer standpoint, we need the diversity in brands. We need the option. We need the option to choose. It's not good if a single brand or only a few big brands control the entire market. So this change is going to be bad for the fan industry in general. It's a very expensive change. Another point, so this proposal about the whole new ceiling fan movement is saying that it's going to save people money. It's going to save households money because their motors are more energy efficient. And yes, while that's true, in order for you to have these new benefits, you need to go out and buy these new fans. And we all know how expensive brushless DC motor fans are. Even looking at, online stores right now, brushless DC motor fans are hundreds of dollars more expensive than some AC motor, induction motor ceiling fans. You can go out to Home Depot and buy a little Hampton Bay ceiling fan, I think it's called a Littleton, for like, what, $40, $50? But then you try to buy a DC motor fan and you're looking at least, 100, 200, maybe 300, sometimes up to $1,000 for a new DC fan. So are you really saving money? Because you're buying this expensive fan, and for most people, they don't really pay for ceiling fans in their lifetime because they move into a house, it already has a whole bunch of ceiling fans installed in it, so they're not buying those fans. They just use them, they pay for the electricity that it consumes, they move out of the house, and that's it. They don't need to go out and buy a fan to save money because they're not going to save money. They're going to be spending a ton of money on these new fans, and I don't understand how that's saving money. They're not. Not to mention the cost for them to uninstall those old fans and put up the new ones, because I'm sure most people will hire electricians to do this work. So they're looking at, 100, 200, if not more, just on the electrician's cost. And there's the fan on top of that. So they're looking at, at least a few $100s, if not more. If they're swapping out a whole house full of ceiling fans, they're probably looking at $1,000 for this swap out. So I don't understand how they're saving money. And also the difference in the electricity cost per month and year between an AC induction motor fan and a brushless DC motor fan is very small. You're only saving, a few cents, a few dollars a month, a year. It's almost negligible. So people will not make the switch thinking it's going to save them money. Maybe the propaganda will say so, but they really will not be. They'll be losing a ton of money swapping from a fan that was, I'm sure, perfectly reliable, a PSC motor fan that's been working fine for past decade or two and will be fine for the decades to come. They're just swapping it out for some garbage that's going to, I'm sure, fail prematurely because, which I'll get to that in a bit, but so they're not saving money. They're going to have to replace those fans eventually, probably during their lifetime, multiple times even. So it's going to cost them a lot of money. Okay, so going into the next point, I just wanted to preface this by saying I don't hate the DC fan technology the same way I personally have nothing against LED lights. The problem here is not the technology itself, but rather it's the quality of the products using that technology. So in my opinion, just my opinion, I think LED lights are great. They have the potential to be really good because they're efficient, they're customizable, they're cool to the touch, and I'm personally not affected by the flickering, so I like them. But the problem is that it's the garbage quality of these new LED lights and the really poorly made circuit components that make them just awful. You see them failing prematurely all the time. Funny story, there's actually a big road a few minutes from my house that recently had a major swap out to LED street lights. They were all old high pressure sodium lights, but they recently switched to LED lights. And there's at least, I think, 2 or 3 on that road that just flickers and they just blink on and off because something inside failed. And just driving around my city, I've seen numerous LED streetlights that have failed. Meanwhile, I've pretty much never seen, or very rarely have seen, high pressure sodium streetlights that have failed. So it's not really the LED technology, but it's just the garbage quality. And I guess just the nature of LED lights, there's a lot of potential points. So what I'm saying here is that DC fans have the potential to be good alternatives to AC fans, even though, I'll probably always prefer AC fans over DC fans, but they just aren't because of the poor quality, and it's not going to get better, I'm certain. So the thing with brushless DC motors is that they just have a lot of parts. It's just by design, it's just the way they are. They need those parts to function the way they do. So they have a little PCB, they've got little circuitry components, a lot of tiny capacitors and all that, versus an AC induction motor is just way simpler. It's just a bunch of iron, copper, steel, maybe a capacitor. But compared to a brushless DC motor, it's way simpler. And that, by design, is more reliable. No matter how reliable the brushless DC motor becomes, let's say you had 2 motors. One is an AC induction motor, one is a brushless DC motor. They were both of equivalent quality, both very high quality motors. No matter how good the quality is, the AC induction motor will always be, by design, more reliable because there are less parts. Okay, you can't change that, it's just the way they are. And the problem is, not only are brushless DC motors more prone to failure in general, we all know nowadays, planned obsolescence and all that. And these manufacturers, they're always saying, oh, we're saving the planet, right? We're introducing this new product that consumes less power. But they need to make money, right? They can't have these products that last forever. They can't have these products that are so efficient that, I don't know, whatever. So they always look for other ways to get more money. And what do? They reduce the quality of these products. So they break down quicker, so people will buy more of these. So they'll throw the old products away, generating more waste. So really, most manufacturers, even though they supposedly care about the environment, they're really caring about themselves, getting more attention for themselves, making money. So it's not really doing much good. And not to mention the continuously declining quality of products nowadays. And because these fans with these new motors will be brand new products, it's going to have the brand new modern quality standards, which is, much lower than what they used to be. Things aren't just made the way they used to be. So these new fans, even though the brushless DC motor technology is more efficient, the quality is going to be worse, and just you're adding poor quality to a product that already by nature has more parts to fail. So that's not a good equation that you're putting in here. Actually, I will say though that Vornado actually has a lineup of DC motor fans, portable fans, called the Energy Smart Circulators, and I actually have one of them. It's the model 133DC, a little tiny fan, and it has a brushless DC motor and a variable speed control, but I have to say the quality's alright, and they actually offer a 10-year warranty on that fan versus 3 to 5 years on their conventional AC motor fans, which does say something about that particular lineup of fans. Vornado seems to have a solid amount of confidence on their DC motor fans that they're actually giving double, if not triple, the warranty of their AC motor fans. So that's good, but the unfortunate thing is that I'm sure most manufacturers, more ceiling fan manufacturers in this case, with this whole DC fan movement, will not be going that route. They're going to be trying to price their fans low, which means they're going to have to sacrifice quality. And remember, the entire ceiling fan industry is going the DC fan route. So these manufacturers, they're going to try to compete and make their own fans more appealing. And what's one way they can do that? Low prices. And how are they going to reduce the cost of these new fans? They can slash the quality. So these new fans that are already prone to failure are going to be of poor quality. So this is not a good equation that you're adding into this industry. So of course, these new fans that are of poor quality will not last as long, meaning people will have to go out and buy replacements. So more waste, more money being spent, Like, are you really saving the planet? Saving money? No, definitely not. Oh, going back to that document about the proposal, take a look at this paragraph here. So they actually do consider the lifetime of brushless DC motor ceiling fans, and they discuss the potential failure points because there's a lot of electronics. But look at the final sentence in that paragraph. For this NOPR, which I think is like notice of proposal, whatever, something like that, DOE, which is Department of Energy, has continued to assume that ceiling fan lifetime does not depend on the motor type. This is the most BS thing I've ever read on here. One of the most BS things. There's a lot of garbage stuff on here, but it's so obvious that brushless DC motors at current state of technology and quality level is not as reliable as an AC induction motor. The AC induction motor has been around for, I think, over a century at this point. It's a reliable, simple mechanism, whereas a brushless DC motor is filled with electronics and is filled with garbage quality components. And at today's, like I said, technology and quality level, they are way less reliable than an AC induction motor fans. I bet that you could buy a Hampton Bay Littleton, put it up, turn it up to high speed, let it run until it dies. Do the same thing with a modern brushless DC motor ceiling fan. Do the same thing, and the Littleton will outlast the brushless DC motor fan. I guarantee it, or I'm most certain that it will. And take a look at these. I pulled up this some reviews that I read on Amazon of some random brushless DC motor ceiling fans, and look at these weird glitches and malfunctions that people are experiencing. So this review says, love it, but comes on by itself. Ooh, that seems like a problem to me. Once the light came on in the middle of the night, and we came into the room with the fan going on full blast. Well, I'm sure you would not have a problem like this if you bought a pull chain PSC motor ceiling fan. And I've seen so many reviews like this of fans glitching out, coming on by themselves. Here's another one, light turns on by itself. Is that normal? Clearly not. This one, yeah, we now start connecting our fans to our phones. We have these smartphones with these apps that you connect. Like, why not just have a remote control? And they say they had trouble connecting to it. If we don't need to connect our fans to our phones, so a simple pull chain fan is fine. And the more we add to our ceiling fans, more smart features, the more they're going to fail. So these reviews clearly prove that. If you go to a fan review on Amazon that is like a regular PSD motor pull chain fan, you will go through and you will not find reviews like this. There's no complaints about apps or coming on by itself because they don't have that potential to fail. And this is more about, smart features. So I guess AC induction motor ceiling fans could have these smart features too. But what I'm trying to explain here is that more parts just means more parts that could fail. And DC motors, by design, they are just more prone to failure. Okay, so the next point is kind of circling back around to the whole point of this proposal, and it's the measurement of CFM per watt. That's the metric that they're measuring, basically the volume of air a fan moves per watt of its motor power consumption. And these are the equations that they're using to measure it. So for a standard ceiling fan, which I'm assuming is a downrod mounted industrial or residential grade ceiling fan, for fans of sizes 53 or smaller, you are using this equation. And for fans above 53 inches, you're using this equation. And similar for huggers and other ceiling fans. So let's do some math. How much does a fan need to move per watt in order for it to meet the new regulation? So let's say for a 52-inch fan, a very standard size, let's plug it into the calculator. We got 0.69, cool number, multiplied by 52, add 53.25 to it, and we get 89.13. This is the minimum CFM per watt rating that a fan needs to meet in order to satisfy this new regulation. So how does an existing AC induction PSC motor ceiling fan compare to this new regulation? Let's take a look. Here's one example. We're at Hunter's website, and this is a builder ceiling fan. This is a very basic, no frills ceiling fan that you can get from Hunter. And you would assume that a basic fan probably doesn't have the best optimization for efficiency. Yet take a look at this. Airflow efficiency, 80 CFM per watt. Comparing that to the minimum for this regulation, 89.13. This is like 10% or less than 10% of a difference. It's really small. It's not big at all. And this proves, well, this is just one example, but a lot of other 52-inch ceiling fans are hovering around this 80, 70, 80 range. So it's not far off from the minimum in the regulation. So I don't really understand the urgent push for more efficient ceiling fans when we already have fans that are pretty much just as efficient or close to being efficient to that new regulation that they're proposing. Really, if you calculate the cost it takes to run between an AC induction motor and a brushless DC motor, the difference won't be huge. It'll be only in like the cents or dollars. So, like I said, this is not a significant difference, meaning I don't understand why there's such an urgent push, a small time frame for manufacturers to make this change. It's already happening. Manufacturers are already moving to DC fans. So why not just let them do it at their own pace? Because we'll get there eventually. Let them do it properly, let them do it at their own pace, make sure they can afford it, so we're not disrupting this industry, this market. Because we already have pretty crappy fans nowadays, and I'm sure this movement will not help at all. So I know I've done a lot of talking in this video, so I'll wrap it up. But ultimately what I'm trying to say here is this crazy aggressive push for more energy efficient ceiling fans is completely unnecessary and even destructive in my opinion. We're not going to see any short-term improvements from this, and it's going to be a very, very long time before we see any kind of improvement from this new regulation. And really, they should be focusing on other things. I can think of so many things right now to save the planet. And out of all things, why ceiling fans?